Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our online streaming po ng ating tax training. And we will continue with the discussions of the transfer pricing. And our topic tonight would be intragroup services and cost contribution arrangement. I would like to say thank you sa ating mga subscribers. Umabot na po tayo ng 3,360. No? Subscribers. Thank you very much for your support. And I would like to say, maayong gabi po sa kaninyong tanan, sa mga taga Visayas at sa Mindanao, sa mga Ilonggo po natin na kababayan, maayong gabi sa inyo tanan. Sa mga Kapampangan po, maayop na bengi kay Kungan, at dito sa Metro Manila and the rest of the Philippines, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. And welcome to another live streaming of tax training. Shoutout.
Ma'am, ang shoutout po si Ma'am Rhea Soriano, ma'am.
Okay, so good evening po, Ms. Rhea Soriano.
Kanina, ma'am, sa seminar natin, nandun din siya, ma'am. Nanonood din siya kanina.
Oh. Okay, so hopefully nakakatulong tayo ng kahit konti may natutunan sa atin, ano. So this evening we would like to discuss to you the intragroup services and cost contribution arrangement. Ito po yung kasama po sa transfer pricing topics natin. At ano po ba itong tinatawag natin na intragroup services and cost contribution arrangement? Since we're talking about transfer pricing, we're talking about related party transactions. At anong sabi natin sa related party transactions? Ito yung may element of control. Why? Saan nanggagaling yung element of control? Because sabi nga natin, related party transactions, so may relationship. No? And when you say relationship, there is an element of control directly or indirectly. Ang sabi naman sa transfer pricing guidelines, whether exercised or exercisable, whether exercised or not. So, meron talaga siyang control. No? Si same person nagmamanage sa mga same companies. Kaya, tinatawag sila na related parties. Okay, so, what are the activities of related parties within the groups na pwede natin makarakterize na intragroup services? Where the charges made by the entities can be direct or indirect, and the arm's length price is to be established. No? So, ano sabi natin na establish yung arm's length price? Ano po ba ang arm's length price? Ito yung compare mo ang price ng independent parties with that of the related parties. At ang sabi natin sa transfer pricing, the independent parties are of price are the real price because it has no element of control. Ang transaction nila is purely influenced by the market. Hindi siya influence ng one party over the other. Kaya, ang totoong price talaga is that of the independent party. Bakit natin i-compare ang controlled price, ang controlled transactions, in order to know the real transactions, in order to collect the right amount of taxes. Okay, so sa intragroup services, common activities wherein a common fund is set up where each member contribute to the fund from which expenses are being disbursed. So ano yun? Dinidisburse ng, actually ito yung issue na ni-refer sa akin, no? Yung mga expenses na common being disbursed, papaano ba? No? Papaano siya dinidisburse? Ano yung criteria ng pagdi-disburse at bakit sila nagkaroon ng common fund, ano yung criteria. At ang tanong naman doon, para maging arm's length siya, yun bang dinidisburse, yun bang kinukontribute ng isang company, sufficiente ba yun ang benefits din na bumabalik sa kanya? No? So examples of services rendered by the group can be sales and marketing, distribution, warehousing, logistics, accounting, information technology, research and development. No? So, yun yung mga examples. Also can be business policy and strategy, internal audit, financial services such as financing and factoring, legal and tax services, human resource development training, or on-call services. Ano yung on-call services? Ito yung help desk, ito yung anytime pwede kang tumawag, customer service. Oh? Okay. Ito yung mga points to remember sa transfer pricing ng intergroup services. No? If the rendition of services by an entity to the group is a duplicate of services already performed by another entity, the same is not considered as part of the intergroup services. Bakit? Kasi duplication. So, ibig sabihin hindi na kailangan. Duplication na lang siya nung services na already rendered by another entity. So, bakit mo pa siya i-charge ng expenses? Oh? So, isa po yun. Services on call. Oh? So, on call siya services. By an associated enterprise to a related party is allowed only if the enterprises is similar. Ano similar? To the charges made by the independent enterprises. Ito na yung arm's length principle natin. So, similar ba siya sa independent parties? Halimbawa, if the parties are not related, ganito ba talaga ang singil? No? Ganito ba talaga ang bayad? No? Fees, ito yung charges are not acceptable if the need for service is remote or not necessary. Kung hindi naman kailangan yung service na yan. So, bakit pa i-charge yan sa subsidiary or sa related party? On-call service has no effect on the operation. So, wala namang pakialam yung on-call services sa operation. Hindi naman napapakinabangan. So, bakit kailangan mo pa mag-charge? Availability of on-call services can be obtained from other sources which is cheaper compared to the services done by related party. Oh? So, pwede mo namang yung services na yan, i-obtain mo sa ibang group, mas cheaper. No? So, hindi siya acceptable. No? Ito pa, shareholder activities performed by an entity as owner or investor of other entities. No? If the services performed by the owner or investor are for purposes of protecting its interest as owner, then no charges for such services should be made. Kasi sa practice, basta may expenses na, basta may meeting, lahat yan charge sa corporations. Lahat yan na expenses, hindi sinushoulder ng shareholders. If yung mga expenses na yan to preserve the ownership, no, for the benefit lang of the owner, then hindi po siya pwedeng i-charge sa corporation. Okay, so what are arm's length charges? The arm's length charge for the services rendered between related parties is the comparable charge. So, di ba sabi natin sa transfer pricing, the heart of transfer pricing is comparability. So, we always compare, no? So, comparable charges made by independent service providers to an unrelated third party for the same services. No? Same services. So, may mga criteria na po tayo on how to determine what are the factors that we are going to use when we compare. No? Balikan natin yung pinag-usapan natin nung nakaraan, the 5 comparability factors. And what are those 5 factors na yon? Yun yung nature or characteristic of goods and services, whether tangible or intangible, functions, assets, and risk. We have the economic conditions, we have the business strategies, and the contractual terms. So, yun po yung kino-compare natin in order that we know kung comparable ba talaga sila o hindi. Nature of the characteristics of the services rendered, functions performed, risk involved and assumed by the enterprise, assets used for the effective discharge of services, economic conditions, strategies employed, terms or agreement by the parties involved. No? Sa itong terms and agreement by the parties involved, sometimes titingnan po natin dito, are the terms acceptable? No? Kung meron na silang agreement, are the terms acceptable if they are not related party? O baka na inaccept lang nung isa kasi wala siyang magawa, no? Dictated lang yung kanyang pagiging entity. So kahit anong sabihin ng investor, ng parent company, sunod lang siya ng sunod. Hindi na naayon sa kung ano man yung arm's length na tinatawag natin or ano man yung nangyayari sa market. Nangyayari na lang yun dahil controlled yung transactions. No? So the charges for intragroup services can be direct or indirect. No? So direct charge is attributed to the entity that uses the services. Yung indirect charge, ito yung nagkakaroon ng maraming issues kasi pag sinabi mo indirect charge and then ilang kumpanya yan, pare-pareho yung charges, that can always be challenged. No? Can be questioned. So indirect charge is the fee to be collected for the services rendered by an associated enterprises from a related party, which is more difficult to quantify because of complexities in the services rendered and involvement of multiple parties. Mas mahirap i-determine itong indirect charge because anong sabi dito? Complicities in the services, no? At mahirap po siyang i-quantify. Kaya anong mas maganda? Yung direct charge, no? Mas madali siyang compute compared sa indirect charge. Okay, so indirect charges usually apply to bulk of charges made with many affiliates. Samantalang direct or indirect charges, they are not acceptable if the services are provided to other customer and become a business activity of the provider which is a related party. So ito yung mga sinasabi na pwede nating disallow or hindi natin i-accept yung charges na yon. No? Shout out po again sa ating mga YouTubers. While we are discussing transfer pricing today or tonight, pwede pa rin po kayong magtanong ng questions kahit hindi naman po related sa transfer pricing. Sagutin pa rin po natin yung inyong mga tanong. No? May question.
Ma'am, may question po. Pero shoutout ko muna, ma'am, si Sir Jomari de la Paz, Mary Grace Randrap, Aya Pulido, Lalea Marie, may bago, ma'am, si Mary. Yun, ma'am, bago. Tapos, ang question, ma'am, galing po, ma'am, kay Ma'am Aya. Ang tanong niya, ma'am, yung transfer pricing book that you're selling, will it help me prepare a transfer pricing document na required ng BIR or may sample ka ba doon?
Meron pong sample, pwede namin email sa inyo. Kasi yung sample ng analysis, although wala naman siyang prescribed na format talaga, at least meron kayong guide, no, on how to do it na sunod-sunod. May sample po. Actually, yung nasa likod, sample ng transfer pricing analysis, as to the content lang po yung nilagay ko dyan sa book. Pero, bibigyan namin kayo ng sample. Okay. So, kunin mo na lang yung email. Pa-email na lang bukas. Para meron siya. Yung hari, yung ABC company, yan, pa-email mo. O kaya send mo na ngayon. Nandyan naman yung email niya. No? Bigay po namin sa inyo ngayon yung, yun ang kaganda ng technology. No? Nandyan ka agad. Sige. Meron naman tayong sample. So, pahingi na lang ng email nyo po and then email namin sa inyo ngayon. O, si Aya. No. Si Aya ba yun o si Marie Grace?
Aya Pulido, ma'am. Si Ma'am Aya. Isa sa mga suki rin natin, ma'am.
Sige. So, what are the example of indirect charge? No? Ito yung example ng indirect. No? Ano yung ginawa niyang variable in order to divide or to charge the services sa related parties, no? Ito, an associated enterprise is a member of the group provides software maintenance to 4 related companies. The total cost of the services provided amounted to 25,000. So, paano niya dinivide doon sa apat yung 25,000 na yan? Gumawa po siya ng allocation. Okay, paano niya inallocate? Yung K niya is based on turnover, meaning it's based on sales. Oh? So, company 1, the turnover is 10,000. Company 2, the turnover is 30,000. Company 3, 20,000. And company 4, 40,000. So, based on that allocation, so that the company 1, ang contribution niya is 2,500. Company 2, 7,500. Company 3, 5,000. And company 4, 10,000. Oh? So, yung total niyan is 25,000. Okay. So, excuse me. Allocation K po, based on turnover can be challenged or it can be questioned. Bakit? Kasi yung turnover ng sales, maraming factors yan. Hindi lang yung provision ng services na yon. So, the variable used is not proper. Can be challenged. Okay. So, tingnan natin, since ginalis natin po yung allocation K na based on turnover, so ano pang pwede? Allocation K, pwede rin natin i-charge na equal yung apat na company na yun. No? So, kung equal yun, 25,000 divided by 6,250. So, if gamitin naman natin yung equal distribution, pwede pa rin ba natin i-challenge yung charges? Yes. Why? Kasi, consider pa rin natin yung size ng company, the capacity of the needs of the entity. Bakit naman hindi kailangan ng isang entity o kaya mas malaki yung services na dapat na-avail ng ibang entity. So, kung equal allocation, that can still be challenged. No? So, there is difficulty in the search for appropriate allocation K on some occasions. No? Example, training expenses incurred by the parent company for the training of executives employed by subsidiaries. So, halimbawa, ang parent company nagpapatraining, lahat ng mga participants doon galing sa iba't ibang company. So, how will you charge, no, for the training of the executives employed by the subsidiaries? No? Para sa akin, my suggestion is, i-charge natin sila per head, regardless of anong klaseng company ba yan. To be fair, siguro, dun tayo sa arm's length, no? Sa arm's length charging, per head. Halimbawa, yung isang company, 5 yung participants niya nandun, hindi mas malaki yung babayaran niya. Halimbawa naman yung isang company, 1 lang. So, 1 lang yung babayaran niya, mas cheaper. That's why, yung charging ng common cost, kailangan din po, dinidetermine siya na dapat arm's length. Excuse me. Makati. May Makati. Parang alikabok. Okay. Okay po. So, there are difficult issues po talaga to allocate, lalo na itong sinasabi natin na charges or fees for different services. Another example, IT help desk on call services. Itong IT, no? Information technology. Rendered by one member of the group to the parent company and other members of the group. So, paano mo yan i-charge sa kanila? No? Na fair yung charges mo. So, sometimes, iba-iba ang pangangailangan. Pag nag-charge ka ng fix, hindi fix yung pag-avail nila ng services, no? So, mahirap. Okay. Situation C, marketing expenses incurred by the head office for the advertising expenses that will benefit 3 distribution branches located in 3 different countries. So, ito na naman, advertising expenses natin or marketing expenses. So, 3 companies yan located in different countries. Paano mo i-charge ngayon yung marketing expenses sa kanila? Pag charge mo yan na equally, ma-challenge ka because depende yan sa size ng companies o sa geographical location nila. So there are so many factors to be considered bago mo ma-allocate po yung kanilang ang charges na dapat i-charge mo sa kanila. So that can always be a challenge. So yun po yung difficulties. No? Ano daw ang gagawin? Sabi dito sa guideline, the analysis of each situation should be made to determine proper charges and allocation case. If the service is rendered for the interest of the whole group, the cost of the services should be charged according to the benefits received. So this is proper. This is arm's length, no? Kaya ako, palagi kong sinasabi, according to the benefits received. Kasi, chinarge ka, wala ka namang benepisyo. So bakit kailangan mag-share doon sa expenses na wala ka namang benefits na na-receive, no? Okay. So, what are the transfer pricing issues dito sa intra-cost contribution or ito yung mga charges ng mga expenses by the parent company to the subsidiaries. All members of the same affiliated group that join in the filing of consolidated return for the taxable year is treated as one taxpayer. No? Consolidated sila kasi group nga eh, no? A controlled participant's cost of developing intangibles for the taxable year include all of the cost incurred by that participated related to the intangible development plus all of the cost sharing payment. And ano tong intangible development? This can be a brand, this can be software, this can be a formula or process. So, depende po, no? So, yun yung development ng intangible. And usually, anong klaseng expenses ito? Research and development. Okay. So, ano itong mga costs that can be incurred related to the development of intangible? Operating expenses other than depreciation or amortization expense, plus the charge of any tangible property made available to the cost-sharing arrangement. Contribution or use of tangible property. Ito yung mga cost attributable to compensation, including stock-based compensation. So another issue po, dun sa research and development na sinasabi natin, yung pagka na-develop na, halimbawa yung intangibles, halimbawa yung dinevelop dun software, ito yung pinag-aawayan na talaga ngayon. No? Na karamihan na issues really arise from the treatment ng intangibles. Bakit? Halimbawa, nag-group sharing na kayo, na-participate na yung mga related parties for the development of intangible. Ito na-develop na, it came out na successful. Ang tanong, who is the owner of that intangible? No? Kasi halimbawa, natapos na lahat kayo nag-participate and then only the parent company owns that intangible. So, ano benepisyo ngayon ng mga subsidiaries? No? And then, ang karamihan na ginagawa, it becomes the owner of one company and then pag ginamit na yun ng subsidiary, charge sila ng royalties, no? For the use of that intangible. So, yan ang case na hindi siya arm's length, so may transfer pricing issues. No? Itong marami pang issue na sa group sharing arrangement, itong management fee. No? Makikita mo, yung mga subsidiaries, yung mga related parties, nag-charge ng management fee, ang laki. No? So, kailan ba tama ang management fee na i-charge mo sa related parties? No? At saka ano ba itong management fee na to? Paano ito sina-charge? At sino yung nag-charge? At sino yung nagbibigay ng management services para ka makapag-charge ng management fee. No? So, yun po yung mga tanong. O, kasi mamaya, nag-charge lang kayo. There is a case kasi na nabasa ko sa international na case na the management fee charged by parent company were disallowed. Bakit? Napakalaki po ng management fee. And sabi ng parent company, that is proper. Kasi kami yung parent company, we are doing service to our affiliates, to our subsidiaries. But, bakit na-disallow siya? Yung parent company, 3 lang ang empleyado doon. No? Yun yung president lang, and then the staff, at then isang personnel pa. 3 lang sila sa head office. Ang maraming employees na doon sa mga sa subsidiaries. Ang tanong ng court, sinong nag-render ng management services? Ano ba ang pakinabang ng subsidiary para bayaran niya yung management services na ang mahal-mahal? No? Kailangan ba niya yung management services na yun? Nakakatulong ba yan doon sa subsidiary? Sino yung nagbigay ng services na yan sa subsidiary at sino yung nag-receive? No? So, hindi nila ma-establish. Why? Kasi nga wala ang tao doon sa ano. Kasi pag sinabi mo management services, expertise yan. No? Nagmamanage, kaya ka nga, nag-charge ng mahal. No? So, in that case, the management fees charged by the company to another company were disallowed. No? So, ito yun, yung mga considerations po pagdating sa management fee. No? Okay. So, intercompany service charges may include payment for management fees provided intragroup from one or more providers to one or more recipients. So, same lang siya na services, one or more recipients, or can be one or more providers. So, dito po sa Philippines, management fee is subject to expanded withholding tax na pinapa-withhold yan kasi services yan, no? Okay. So, audit of management fee is important, especially if the amount is material. No? Amount is material. No? In my experience, ang dinisalaw ko, 120 million na management services charged by the company to another related party. Okay. So, ano yung mga consideration for the management fee? No? Determination and purpose of the services. Ano ba yung purpose ng management fee na yan? Di ba minamanage mo yung other company, may mga expert advices ka, may mga expert people ka to go over or to look after this operation of the company. Number 2, capacity and expertise of the entity to render or to provide a service. Expert ba yung head office or yung related party na yan para makapagbigay naman ng serbisyo na napakamahal doon sa another company? No? So yung capacity niya and the expertise, sino yung mga yun? Sino yung mga tao na yun na expert sila, then capable sila to give this management service? And then the next thing that you are going to consider is the need of the entity that receive and to whose account management fees are charged. No? So, kailangan ba naman ng entity o kahit hindi kailangan, chinarge mo kasi related party kayo. No? So, kailangan ba talaga yung services na yan? And next is the determination of the cost of services. No? Magkano ba yung charge mo? Is that 120 million proper? No? Kaya nga minsan, ang subsidiary puro net loss. Sa sobrang dami ng charges ng head office sa kanila. No? Proof that management services were actually rendered. Ano yung mga proof? May tao ba talaga na pumunta doon at ano yung ginawa niya para masabi mo na the management services were really rendered. No? And then, on the part naman dun sa binigyan ng management services na yan, the personnel involved as provider and receiver of the services. Sino ba nag-receive ng services na yan? Kasi nga sabi natin, ano ba yung binigay na yan na services? Sino ang tumanggap? So, outline or specifics of management services rendered. Ano yung outline? Sabihin mo, paano nila to ginawa, ang management services na to? Kasi services yan eh. No? So, may gumawa niyan. May tao na nag-render para mo masabi na talaga na ginawa talaga yung management services na yan. Time or period covered. Kailan siya ginawa. No? And then the withholding tax payment for the management fee. No? Sabi ng iba, ma'am, zero-rated transactions yan. Ma'am, doon na-conclude sa outside the Philippines and doon din binigay. Oh, it's not true. Bakit? Services kasi yan eh. Bakit doon binigay sa abroad? At saka kinlaim yan ng company dito sa Pilipinas. No? Kayo maniwala kung kayo yung mga nag-audit. Kayo maniwala na hindi na i-charge sa withholding. Services na yan dito, i-consume in the Philippines yan dapat. Kasi dito yan ibibigay. Kasi nandito yung company. No? So, hindi tayo maniwala na, ma'am, doon sila the contract were approved, were agreed in ibang bansa. So, doon ang bayaran. So, walang pakialam dito ang Pilipinas. Bakit walang pakialam? Dito mo chinarge. No? So, hindi ko mag-gets yung logic. No? Kasi logical tayo. Transfer pricing is common sense. No? Common sense lang to. But then, hindi siya exact science, but common sense lang. Unang-una, services yan. Pinapabayad mo dito sa Pilipinas. Bakit doon mo ibigay sa labas? No? Kasi, ano yun eh, lalo siya maging questionable kung services yan and then doon mo sa labas i-render, no? Lalo po siyang hindi. Pag ako nag-audit, lalo ko siyang hindi allow, no? For intragroup services, provision of Section 34B of the National Internal Revenue Code would apply. Bakit? Kasi kinlay mo siya na expenses eh. Yung National Internal Revenue Code natin, meron po yan siyang requirement para ka makapag-claim ng expenses. No? Hindi lang yung basta nilagay mo dyan, expenses na kaagad dyan, babayaran ng company. No way. Meron tayong requirement. Ano yung requirement natin? Number 1, the substantiation requirement. No? Ano yun? Sabi po ng tax code, no deduction from gross income shall be from gross income thereof unless the taxpayer shall substantiate with sufficient evidence. Oh, may evidence. Ano ba yung evidence? Pagka sinabi mo na i-claim mo yung expenses. No? Such as official receipts. Bakit official receipts ito? Kasi services. No? So, dapat mag-issue ka ng official receipts. The amount of the expenses being deducted. So, the amount of expenses being deducted and the direct connection or relation of the expenses being deducted to the development, management, operation, and or conduct of the trade, business, or profession of the taxpayer. Harrison, excuse lang po mga ka-YouTubers. Halika sandali. Huwag ka nga doon ng dalawang basahan. Napakakati. Hindi ito na punasan. Kate. Hindi rin nag-map dito si ano, no? Nung hapon na. Kaya ang kate. Okay.
Ma'am, may question ako, ma'am.
Oh, sige po.
Galing po kay Ma'am Mary. Ang concern niya, ma'am, for manufacturing entity, wholly financed and servicing only its parent company, inventory is owned by parent, so Philippine entity should only be charging labor, overhead, and expenses in Philippines. Management wants only to recover the expenses. How to identify po the arm's length acceptable by BIR? Wala po same business entity in Philippines.
Okay. So, in short, ano po yung ginawa ng subsidiary po dito sa Pilipinas? Nagmamanufacture, tama po ba? Ano yung sabi niya dyan sa question niya? Nagmamanufacture ang brands dito sa Pilipinas? Ulitin mo yung question.
Yung management daw po wants only to recover the expenses. How to identify po the arm's length acceptable by BIR.
Hindi, yung una pa, ano bang nature ng services na pinag-usapan?
For manufacturing entity, fully financed and servicing only its parent company.
Yes.
Yung inventory owned by parent, so Philippine entity should only be charging labor, overhead, and expenses in Philippines.
So in that case po, kung titingnan natin anong maging treatment yan ng transfer pricing, the Philippine entity is just doing service to the parent company. Why? Because isa lang yung nagsusupply sa kanya ng goods na i-manufacture niya, isa lang din yung kanyang customer. So the parent is the supplier, and then the parent is also the buyer. Diba? So paano mo i-determine na arm's length yan? Wala. No? Sabi mo nga, unique pa yung services na ginagawa, hindi available sa iba. So, ano pong proper treatment? The company here in the Philippines is not doing a business. It's just doing a service to the parent company. Ano pong transfer pricing method na dapat gamitin? Kasi very integrated lang sila. Parang extension lang siya ng parent company niya na nandito sa Pilipinas. The proper method pagdating na po sa computation ng income, kasi in that case, puro lugi lang yung subsidiary dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi yan nagkakaroon ng income, never. Bakit? Kasi wala naman siyang sales, no? So, services lang talaga ginagawa niya. So, in that case, the method that is going to be used sa transfer pricing is profit split. No? Bakit siya profit split? Kasi lahat ng activities nandun sa parent, siya services lang. No? And then, paano yung charging ng services na arm's length? Then, what is acceptable? Kasi kung wala kang comparable, dahil sabi mo nga unique, masyado yung services, walang ibang magpo-provide, then you have to hypothesize. No? Hypothesize. Magkano kung halimbawa itong party of the transactions are not related, magkano kaya i-charge to ng independent party? No? But in that case, kung wala talagang comparable, then you have to split the profit. You have to divide the profit, bigyan mo ng profit yung nandito sa Pilipinas as part of the services para dito din po siya magbayad ng tax. Kasi ang karamihan na nangyayari, zero ang subsidiary. No? Never na nagkaroon ng income. Bakit? Kasi sa totoong buhay, wala talaga siyang income because servisyo lang yung ginagawa niya. No?
Ito pa, ma'am. Galing po kay Ma'am Suset Labay, ma'am.
Okay. Shout out to Ma'am Suset.
Sabi niya po, ask ko lang po, how can I know how long each assets be depreciated? May guidelines po ba on how to categorize the years to be calculated in each assets?
Sa assets po natin, kahit sa BIR, we follow po the accounting standards. So, ano po ba yung years na depreciate natin yung assets? Di po ba pagka mga hindi naman talaga tumatagal na assets, 1 year, expense mo na kaagad. Tapos, merong 3 years, no? Yung mga furniture and fixtures na ginawa natin, pwede ng 3 years yan. Yung mga vehicles, no? Sasakyan, 5 years. Pero yung mga 10 years, mga long term na 20 years, halimbawa building, depende na po yan sa structure ng ginawa ng building. So kung halimbawa yung buildings, that's that yung ginamit niyang mga materials are talagang tatagal pa yung buhay niya. So, dinidepreciate natin ang building ng 20 to 30 years. We follow the accounting standards po on how to depreciate the assets. But for tax purposes, we use only the straight line method of depreciation.
As ma'am, may follow-up po si Ma'am Mary. Sabi niya po, does management fee have to be substantiated with BIR or management discretion na? Board resolution will suffice.
The bias po yung board resolution. No? It should be supported. Kaya nga inisa-isa natin kanina eh. At saka, since management fee yan, halimbawa, binayaran, dapat may official receipts po siya at may withholding tax. No? So, yun po talaga ang tama. Paano, magkano po yung management fee, ang withholding dyan? Kasi di ba ngayon, under the train law, ang rate ng withholding, pagka ang nag-provide sa iyo are non-individual, 10% for hanggang 720,000 and more than 720,000, 15% na po yung withholding. No? Bakit? Kasi classified ito as professional fee dahil management. High level to na services, hindi yun ordinary na sabi nila, hindi naman kami professional services lang to na ordinary 2%. Pero pag tiningnan mo doon sa kontrata, nakalagay doon, management. So, ang management is high level. Hindi po yan pwedeng ibigay lang ng ordinaryong serbisyo kagaya ng janitor. Janitor, security, 2% yan. Pero yung professional, 10%, 15% yan pag non-individual. Pag individual naman yung nagbigay, 5% for 3 million, and then more than 3 million, 10% ang withholding.
Ito pa po, ma'am. From Ma'am Mary Grace Randrap, ma'am.
Always po yan. Hello, Miss Mary Grace.
Sabi niya po, ang dami pong mga transfer pricing methods. Paano malalaman kung ano method gagamitin per transaction?
Okay. Sa Pilipinas po, we adopted the 5 methods ng OECD. Ito yung comparable and controlled price method, the resale price method, the cost plus method, transactional net margin method, at saka profit split method. Pag gumawa po tayo ng transfer pricing analysis, ang sabi po, apply all the methods, the 5 methods, and then recommend the best method rule. No? Kasi I asked the OECD dyan, kasi nung ni-explain nila sa amin yung transfer pricing methods, nung tinignan ko, sabi ko, pwede po bang gumawa na lang kayo ng matrix and then recommend the best method for its industry? Ang sabi po ng OECD, no, we cannot make a matrix. We cannot recommend what is the best method because it depends on the circumstances of the company. So, case to case po talaga. Kaya ang sabi natin sa transfer pricing guidelines natin na RR 2-2013, ang sabi dyan is apply all the methods and then recommend the best method. No? Pero para sa akin, dito, ang ginagamit lahat ng BPOs dito sa Pilipinas, yung engage in business process outsourcing, they're using cost-plus method when in fact they must not. Dapat dyan profit split. Why? Because their nature of operation is highly integrated. Bakit? Service provider lang kasi yun nandito eh. But that service is part of the operation. Nakakatulong siya sa overall na operation po ng company. So dapat profit split. Hindi po dapat na cost-plus. At yung cost plus nila na 5% markup, hindi din po yan arm's length. Why? Because if the parties are not related, hindi ka po papayag na 5% lang yung markup mo. Why? That is very small. No? Because that 5% will cover your operating expenses. So how will you survive?
Ma'am, shoutout ko lang po si Sir Lon Katax Shosho, Tax Channel. Hello daw po, ma'am.
Oy, sabi mo, collab ka sa akin. Asan na? Asan na, Sir Lon? Very, ano na ka na? 1,100 na yung subscriber mo. Tinitingnan din kita. No? Shout out also to Mr. James Alberto. Sabi ko na sa iyo, mag-guest ka rin dito sa akin. No? Sila po itong mga... ano din po natin, ka-YouTube channel din po natin sila. At nagle-lecture din po sila ng tax. Mga CPAs din po sila. At may mga YouTube channel din po sila na ipopromote natin. Yung kay Sir James Alberto po, James Alberto Channel, marami din po kayong matutunan dyan. No? And then yung kay Katax Socio natin, kay Sir Lon Halandoni, iba naman po yung approach niya, napaka-friendly at madali pong intindihin. No? Yung sa akin, iba po kasi ang approach ko eh. Hindi ko kaya yung approach nila na ang ganda-ganda ng mga presentation nila, may mga yung anime, hindi ko kaya yun. Ako puro salita lang. No? Doon lang ako nakaka-express nung sinasabi ko. Yung sa kanila naman iba. Pero ang gaganda po ng kanilang presentation. So, subscribe nyo rin po yung channel ni Sir James Alberto at saka yun po yung kay Katak Sosyo.
Makita po nila sa screen, ma'am, yung nasa screen natin, yung subscribe to Sir James Alberto. Naka-flash po sa screen natin ngayon.
Okay. Okay, so very good po, no? Sila yung, pag tinignan nyo po yung channel nila, ang dami din pong video na matututo din po kayo, no? It's all about taxation din.
Ma'am, may question po ulit, ma'am. From Ma'am Mary pa din po. Sabi niya po, subsidiary Philippine entity is required to present an invoice to PESA and customs for export. But since we are technically a service entity, OR lang po meron kami.
Yes, tama po.
Tapos, what is the work around po to satisfy PESA, customs, and BIR, ma'am?
Pakita niyo po sa kanila yung batas, the Republic Act 9337, Section 11. Yun po yung nagsabi na dalawa na lang ngayon yung resibo na pwedeng i-issue for sale of services, official receipt, and for sale of invoices, sales invoice, no? Pagka sale of goods, no? So yun na lang ang pwedeng i-issue. Oh? Mahirap kasi yung sabihin mo na work around kasi may batas eh. So yun na lang po batas yung i-present natin sa kanila. No?
Ma'am, sabi po ni Sir Lon, malapit na po Ate Elsa tayo mag-collab pag hindi na daw po siya nahihiya.
Bakit ka nahihiya? Grabe ka naman, ang gwapo-gwapo mo. No. Baka mamaya pag nakita ka ng YouTubers, bigla na lang mag-zoom ka na kaagad, no? Ano to? Huwag kang mahiya. Magano ka na. Kasi ang dami na eh. 1,100 plus na yung ano mo. At saka ang dami na nanonood po ng videos. Kaya, huwag mahiya. No? Kasi we're doing service also to the YouTubers. Kaya huwag ka nang mahiya. No? Kung ako nga titingin sa totoong buhay lang, kung ako yung titingin sa mukha ko sa YouTube, hindi ako satisfied. Ayaw ko. Pero wala, ginawa ko. Kasi bakit nagkalakas ako ng loob? Kasi pag tinignan ko yung mga YouTubers na iba, mga kalokohan lang, pero tawa ng tawa, milyon ng mga subscribers. Sabi ko, etong sa akin naman, may sense naman yung sinasabi ko. Bakit ako mahiya, no? Sabi ko, pangit-pangit ko eh. Wala akong magawa, talagang pangit ako. Pero yung sinasabi ko, hindi naman pangit. Ay, wag kang manghiya, lakasin lang yan ang loob. Kung hindi ba lakas ang loob mo, mahiya ka, then sayang naman yung talent mo at saka yung gusto mong maitulong sa iba. Huwag kayong mahiya. Kasi pag nanood kayo sa YouTube, naku, kung pangit ka, mayroon pang mas pangit sa iyo doon. No? Kaya lakasan lang yan ang loob. Tayo mahiya. Online na, kaya nga yung sabi na, ma'am, nahihiya ako. Online naman yun eh, wala namang nakatingin sa'yo dito, camera lang yung kaharap mo. Totoo lang, no? Kaya, basta gusto natin gawin at alam naman natin na nakakatulong, tayo mahiya. No? Kasi umabot ka na 1,100. Okay, may question pa?
Wala, ma'am. Sabi lang po ni Ma'am Aya, blooming daw po kayo, ma'am.
Blooming, nakatulog nga ako, nangihilik pa. Kasi di ba may free bookkeeping today. And then kagabi, tinapos na po namin. Ito pala sa mga YouTubers. Tinapos po namin kagabi, nag-shoot pa kami hanggang 10 o'clock. No? Ang sipag-sipag ni Harry, na-edit niya kaagad, na-upload niya yung VAT on installment sales and zero-rated sales, general principles of value-added tax, nandyan na po yan. Available na sa YouTube natin, kaya pwede nyo nang tingnan. No? So, lahat kami, hyper. Okay, dahil din sa lockdown, yung mga ITs po natin dito na natutulog kasama natin, kaya marami kaming nagagawa kasi kahit gabi. No, yun yung pa-thank you po tayo sa kanila. Kasi kung ako lang, ang kaya ko dito, daldal lang. Pagdating na sa editing, pagdating sa mga uploading, hindi ko alam yan. Pagdating ng setup ng camera, hindi ko rin alam yan. Kaya pag ako lang mag-isa, ang magagawa ko, sulat-sulat lang. At saka yung manood sa YouTube, aralin yung mga dapat. Pero yung mag-upload, hindi ko talaga kaya. No? Kasi tanggap ko na kahit ano pang gawin mo sa buhay mo, may limitations po talaga tayo. Kaya we have to bank on our strength, no? And then, minimize natin yung mga weaknesses natin. But we have to bank on our strength. Yung hindi natin kaya, accept natin na hindi natin kaya, bigay natin yan sa iba, no? We ask help. Kasi hindi pwedeng makasurvive tayo dito sa mundo na nag-iisa, no? We ask help sa others. Kagaya kay Sir Eugene, no? Shout out also kay Sir Eugene Cruz, no? Na siya talaga yung nag-iisip paano tataas yung subscriber, siya talaga yung nag-aalaga doon sa mga subscribers natin, paano yung i-reach out, no? Sila talaga yung nag-a-advertise kasi po sabi ng Udemy, kasi nag-offer din sana ako na mag-apply sa Udemy as online teacher. Yung ginagawa nating mga modules, yung ginagawa po na mga, in short, yung pagle-lecture mo, 7% lang yan. No? 60% is advertisement. Kung hindi mo advertise ang gawa mo, wala. Siguro hanggang ngayon, kahit yung 1,000 subscriber, hindi pa namin naabot. No? Pero anong ginawa ni Sir Eugene? Nag-marketing siya. Itong YouTube channel natin, kinonect po niya doon sa Philippine School of Taxation na marami ng, anong tawag doon, Hari? Likers. Oo, may 5,000 na yung nag-like doon. So, kinonect niya doon because those persons, sila yung mga nangangailangan ng knowledge in taxation. Kaya nandoon sila. So, nung malaman na, dito na sila nagsusubscribe sa YouTube channel natin, dumami. No? So, umpisa na yun, and then tuloy-tuloy po sila na nagli-link doon sa PSTRI or Philippine School of Taxation. Okay? So,
Ma'am, may sabi po si Ma'am Mary Grace, mag-member ako, support for Ma'am Elsa. Sobrang bait and sipag.
Thank you po ha. Kanina talagang nag-online tayo sa ating mga audience, no? As to the membership. Actually, we are offering the membership 1,000 per year, no? And we will help you on the tax update. Email lang kayo o tanong lang kayo sa amin. And then we offer to you the facilities ng library namin. At saka pag member kayo, we also offer to you the discount on the paid seminar natin. No? Para sa akin, that is a very, very cheap na charges or fee. Para saan po gagamitin yung 1,000? Kasama na po yan sa mag-improve tayo ng facilities natin, gagamitin po natin sa maintenance. Kasi for your information po, the Philippine School of Taxation and Research is a non-stock, non-profit. Wala po yung profit na pumupunta sa tao lang. Ako, for one, why I survive, may services po ako, yung tax consultancy services ko. Pero sa training, wala po akong kita dito. Kaya nga sinasabi ko sa iba, talagang love ko lang na love talaga ang training. No? Kasi ito na yung ano ko eh, kaya sabi nila, happy kapag nagtitrain ka. Sabi ko, kasi parang na-express ko yung sarili ko at saka gusto kong gawin eh. Sabi ko, hindi ako mayaman. Ano bang pwedeng tulong ko sa iba? Kaalaman na lang kasi gusto kong magbasa, gusto kong may alam ako. Saan ko naman i-apply yung mga kaalaman na yan na hindi mo i-share sa iba, no? At buti na lang may nakikinig pa sa akin. Kasi sometimes kahit isa lang yung participant ko, tinutuloy ko yung seminar. O, mag-online ako, may nanonood ba? Kahit wala, sige tuloy. Kasi sinabi mo eh, no? Sinabi mo na online streaming ka, 8 to 10, sundin mo talaga yun kasi regular na yun eh, sinabi mo eh. So may manonood man dyan o wala, basta tuloy lang. Okay? So thank you, Miss Mary Grace. Thank you talaga. Okay. At saka for those who wanted to be a member po ng Philippine School of Taxation, magbibigay din po kami sa inyo ng ID as member, no? So magamit ninyo yan kahit saan pa. At saka, ang isa pa dyan, anytime na meron kayong question, meron kayong needs about taxation, may mga clarification, email lang po ang katapat, email nyo lang sa amin. No? Kasi may mga sasagot po sa inyo, may mga staff po tayo na sasagot. Kung mga frequently asked questions yan, masagot na nila. Pero kung mga gray area po talaga, then bigyan nyo kami ng time kasi i-research din po namin. Dahil ayaw din namin na mapahiya kami at hamak din kayo doon sa sagot namin. So tama lang na bigyan nyo kami ng time para makapag-research kami. Especially if your questions are highly technical. No? Halimbawa, nag-involvement siya ng mga cases, mga interpretations, then hindi po natin kaagad-agad yan na masagot kasi hindi yan yes or no. No? Okay, so thank you ulit. Okay. Ito yung continuation po natin sa management fee. No? So kailangan management fee should be substantiated at dapat may withholding tax. No? Kasi karamihan, dati sa hindi pa pinapansin itong management fee, napakalaki, charge, hindi pinapansin, wala ring withholding. Kasi ang sabi, pinayad yan doon sa abroad. Oh? And then doon sila nagka-permahan ng kontrata. Hindi po yan po pwede. Bakit? Ang pinag-usapan dito, management fee, services, bakit doon mo ibigay sa abroad? Ang kumpanya mo dito sa Pilipinas at dito mo kinlaim yung expense. So if management fee is provided only to protect the interest of shareholders, it can be disallowed for tax purposes. So ito yun. You preserve the interest of the shareholders. Personal na nila yun, no? Hindi na yan para sa company. So dapat yung charges na yan. Halimbawa, stockholders meeting, no? Ang usapan doon, paano i-preserve yung interest ng mga shareholders. Then that should be charge sa expenses ng mga shareholders, hindi expenses ng company. Another is finance charges. Actually, may bago pong guidelines ang OECD, yung February 2020 na arm's length transfer pricing guidelines for financial transactions. Why? Because these finance charges, napakarami pong issues dito. Ano po mga issue? Yung rate ng interest, yung rate ng guarantee fees, yung paano nag-obtain ng loan, yung hindi reasonable na pag-acquire ng loans, ang dami pong conduit financing, back-to-back financing, yun po yung mga issues sa finance charges. Napakarami po niyan. May question?
Wala pa.
Okay. So, finance charges pertain to interest and other charges, which is the amount paid as cost of money on loans and advances and other payables charged by related entity to another. Especially kung within the group meron silang financing company na related party din. That financing company is formed by the group in order to give finance services to the other group. So yun po tingnan natin kung arm's length ba yan. Ano yung, paano mo malaman na arm's length yung charges? Is it too excessive? Mataas ba masyado yung interest? Kasi kung mataas masyado, then it's not arm's length. O sobrang baba ba? Kasi kung sobrang baba din, questionable din. Bakit hindi siya, o binigay nila na ganun lang kababa, no? Kasi ang pinag-usapan natin dito, dapat arm's length, di ba? At pag sinabi nating arm's length, comparable siya with the charges of the independent company. So usually, ano po yung benchmark ng interest natin? Sa Pilipinas, yung BSP, no? Bangko Sentral of the Pilipinas, yun yung inter-offered rate or yung bank interest charges natin. No? Sa batas naman, 12%, no, per annum. Okay, what are the examples of these finance charges? Loan of a subsidiary guaranteed by the parent. Bakit? Ito po yung explanation niya ng OECD. Ang subsidiary, tinayo nila yan sa isang bansa. Walang assets yan, walang laman, in short. Bakit? Tinayo nila yan for a purpose. No? So, hindi nila lalagyan niya ng assets, wala yung lahat. But, pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, magkaroon niya ng needs kasi mag-ooperate yan. Thinly capitalized pa siya, maliit lang yung capital. O, kasi hindi naman yan nilalagyan talaga ng malaking kapital. So, anong mangyayari? Paano siya maka-loan? No? Maglo-loan siya local eh. Paano siya maka-loan? Wala siyang assets. No? So, in short, sino magpapahiram sa kanya ng pera? Walang bangko na pag in-assess mo, pautangin ka based on the capacity of that company. So, anong mangyari ngayon? Ngutang siya sa bangko, igagaranti siya ng parent company. No? So, bakit siya i-guarantee? Kasi nga wala siya. Yung pag-guarantee niyan sa subsidiary, meron pa yung tinatawag na guarantee fee. No? Charge pa yan siya ng parent. No? So, loan of a subsidiary guaranteed by the parent. No? So, yun yung may mga finance charges. Payables and receivables from a related company. Halimbawa, ano yung mga payables? Halimbawa, manufacturing company ang parents. Ang subsidiary niya is the distributor. No? So, ano ba yung term and conditions nila pag binigay ng parent yung inventory kay subsidiary para niya ibenta? Binabayaran ba niya kaagad yan o payable pa yan sa kanya o considered sales kaagad sa kanya pag nandun na sa kanya yung inventory? Ano ba yun? Consignment sale? Kasi may load tayong consignment sale that should be followed. No? And kung kinonsider na yun ng parent na payable, dapat kinonsider na rin kinonsider na ng subsidiary na payable, dapat kinonsider na rin yan na receivable ng parent. No? So, kailan ba niya kinlassify na receivable? Eh, kung hindi pa naman yan paid, pinadala, hindi naman sold, pinadala pa lang yung inventory. No? So, doon pa lang sa treatment, magkakaroon na yan ng issue ng transfer pricing. No? Kasi bakit mo kaagad-agad i-considered sold na, hindi pa naman nabenta? O bakit ka na mag-recognize ng accounts receivable mo, eh, hindi pa naman nag-recognize na payable yung subsidiary mo. No? So, transfer pricing issue. And then, advances to and advances from a related entity. Ano ba yun? Bakit advances to, advances from? No? Minsan, panggulo lang kasi yan eh. Experience ko yan sa mga audit ko, no? Yung advances to and advances from. Wala man talagang ganyan transactions, nilagay lang dyan para pang-balansi sa ibang accounts. No? And then we have the terms of credit on sales or purchases with related parties. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na terms of trade. No? Anong example dito? Yung question kanina ni, sino yung question? Si Mary?
Yes, ma'am.
Ano yung sabi niya that the parent is the supplier and the parent is also the buyer. Oh? So yun yung terms of trade na may issue na kaagad, is the pricing proper? Why? Kasi controlled yan eh. No? Walang independent parties involved. Sila lang. So, tama ba yung charges na ginamit o yung pricing ng goods and services na yon? No? Kasi kung hindi, yun yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na profit split talaga ang gagamitin sa transfer pricing. Okay. Bank loan to finance capital expenditures. No? Itong bank loan to finance expenditures, since capital expenditures yan, dapat ang interest i-capitalize mo. Do not charge it to an expense. Yun yung sinabi kong na-audit ko talaga, actual, na mall sila, and then nagpapagawa ng another mall, yung utang nila sa bangko, the interest expense, sina-charge sa operation, which is not. No? Sino naman niya related doon sa operations mo? Kaya lumalaki ang loss. No? In analyzing finance charges, it is necessary to determine the following: purpose of the loan or advances. No? Meron akong ni-review kasi the docket of the case. No? Kasi nung na-assign ako sa large taxpayer, lahat ng dockets po pina-review sa akin, no? Sa large taxpayer Cebu, about transfer pricing issues. Ang dami-dami ko po nakita mga issues. Ano-ano yung mga yon? Kagaya dito, purpose of the loan or advances. Ang dami mong cash, bakit kailangan mo pa mag-loan? No? Yun talaga nakita ko. Ang daming cash nito, bakit kailangan pa mag-loan? O kaya, ito pa na masabi mo talagang hindi arm's length. Meron na siyang mga standby na credit, no? Na available anytime gagamitin niya from the related parties. Nag-enter pa siya into another finance contract which is very detrimental to the company. Sabi ko, pag in-analyze mo, yung loan na niya na standby na nandyan na, sobrang-sobra na, bakit kailangan pa mangutang? Kasi ano siya, distributor. So tiningnan ko, gusto kong gawan ng inventory turnover, hindi kulang yung information. So hindi ko magawa. Pero the way is I look at it, at any one time, yung kanyang inventory is something like, mini-maintain niya, 80 million, no? At one time. Yung standby credit niya is 150 million pesos at saka $2 million. Standby loan yan. Sabi ko, bakit kailangan mo pa mangutang pa ng iba pa? Sobra-sobra na nga itong loan na nakuha mo. Kaya, yan, purpose of the loan or the advances. Kasi bakit nangutang pa siya? Sometimes yung iba kasi, hindi naman talaga totoong utang yan. Arrangement lang nila para makapag-claim ng interest expense. No? Amount of the loan or advances, is it very material? Kasi kung material yan, halimbawa, ang company naman is yung working capital niya, mga halimbawa, 100 million. Bakit mangutang pa ng 300 million? No? Or 1 billion? Saan mo dadalhin? Saan mo gagamitin yon? And sometimes, nangyayari pa yan dito sa Pilipinas, nangungutang yung parent company, pinapautang din sa mga subsidiaries at no interest. So, malaking issue yan sa transfer pricing. Rate of interest charges. Bakit magpapafinance ka pa sa accounts receivable mo dun sa inventory mo, na binenta mo, bakit ipapafinance mo pa? No? And then the rate of interest charges is high. No? So, ano yan, talaga transfer pricing issue. And then the currency used. Why? Kasi, di ba, dito sa atin, peso, and then yung common natin is dollars. So, halimbawa, meron ka iba pang currency na ginamit. No? So, titingnan natin, kasi di ba, meron tayong gain or loss on the translation of currency. Ang lalaki niyan, no? Yung mga dollar-denominated talaga na transactions, foreign currency-denominated transactions, ang lalaki niyan. Pagka nag-claim sila at the end of the year, yung gain or loss, sometimes, puro loss, no? Kunti lang yung gain. Then, capacity of the entity to incur the liability. No? Halimbawa, 50 million company, nangutang ng 300 million. Di ba nakakatawa yun? No? Because, unang-una, you don't have the capacity to pay for that loans. O bakit mangutang ka ng ganun kalaki? No? Kung piso ka lang, bakit ka mangutang ng 1,000? So, transfer pricing issue po yan. Ang transfer pricing is economic condition, and we determine the economic activity of the company. No? Okay, example. Company A engaged in retailing business as the main line of business. Retailing. No? Other income includes rental income and buy and sell of securities. So, other income niya, rental. Ibig sabihin, nagpapaupa pa siya. And then the buy and sell of securities. Maraming pera. Kasi buy and sell of securities. So, the company incur a huge amount of liability. In spite of the big source of cash from rental income. Verification of the account showed that the company is constructing a building or a mall to expand its business operation. So, bakit ang laki ng utang niya? Pala, nagpapagawa ng mall, no? Other mall. No? So, the tax authority disallowed the interest expenses claim on the ground that those are not necessary and ordinary expenses and should be treated as capital expenditure added to the cost of the building. Actual case ko po ito. No, nilagay ko dito ng example. This is an actual case. No? Depreciation, depletion, and amortization charges. No? Ano ba yung depreciation? Systematic allocation of the depreciable amount of an asset over its useful life. Systematic allocation, bakit? Allocation lang to, walang actual cash involved dito. Allowed lang to ng government or ng batas kasi ginagamit natin sa business at pagka nasira o na wear and tear na siya, obsolete na, pwede tayong bumili ulit. No? Why? Because we're using it in business. Depreciation refers to property, plant and equipment. Depletion refers to wasting assets and amortization to intangible assets. Yung depletion, na-deplete yung assets. Halimbawa, mining companies, yung mining mo, yung resources mo, good for 10 years lang na pagmamine mo. After 10 years, fully depleted na siya. Ibig sabihin, ubos na. No? Yun ang depletion. Yun namang mga machineries, equipments, no, plants, ano yan, depreciation yan. O, dinidepreciate. Okay. So, depreciation, allocation of cost over the estimated life of an asset. Yun yung tanong kanina kung meron ba tayong talagang standard na how many years mo i-allocate yung assets. O? So, ang sabi ko dyan, we follow the accounting standards and the only kind of depreciation acceptable is the straight line method. No? Kasi pagka straight line, equal mo yan na dinidivide as to the number of years na life ng assets. Okay, so it is important to consider the following sa depreciation, depletion, and amortization charges. Ano naman to amortization charges sa intangibles, no? Ina-amortize natin. Ano pa yung ina-amortize natin? The leasehold improvement. Ito pa, may findings na naman ako. Ano yun, na issue. Biro mo, every year, nagkakaroon siya ng leasehold improvements. And every year, halimbawa 3 million yung leasehold improvements niya, kiniklaim niya na expense ang leasehold. Okay. Ano ba yung rule natin sa leasehold improvement? Amortize according to the term of the lease. No? So, tinignan ko, nasa notes to financial statement niya. Yung term of lease niya is 3 years, may 4 years, may 5 years. Eh, bakit i-outright expense mo ngayon itong leasehold improvement? No? So, dinisallow ko. Disallowed. Dinisallow ko lahat. So, it's up to him to show na talagang mag-claim siya during amortization natin dyan. Tingnan natin yan. Baka mamaya, iba yung term of lease, iba naman yung in-outright expense mo yung leasehold. No? Okay. Ito na. The important points to consider. The cost of the asset being depreciated. Ano bang sabi natin? For tax purposes, ano ba yung depreciate natin? The cost of the asset when it is acquired. Hindi yung fair value niya. Hindi yan din-depreciate ang fair value. No? So, cost of the asset being depreciated, depleted, or amortized, no? Okay, refer to the original cost and additions or disposal. Look for primary documents. No? Kasi, for so many times, yung depreciation, depletion, amortization na yan, hindi yan masyadong tinitingnan. Kaya ngayon, tingnan natin yung look for primary documents. Actually, madali lang mag-audit eh. Bakit? Doon ka lang magre-revolve on the documents, no? Tsaka analyze mo yung terms and conditions ng mga contracts, yung validity ng mga resibo na inisyo, doon lang. Kaya nga dito sa free bookkeeping natin, actually, hindi ko in-emphasize dyan yung mga debit credit talaga per account, no? Although sa mga videos natin meron tayo. Ang in-emphasize ko po dyan yung bookkeeping regulations, no? Kailangan natin yun para tama yung nire-record natin. Okay, we have to consider also the number of years the asset is depreciated, depleted, or amortized. No? It can be shorter or longer than allowed by accounting and other standards, usually depending on the kind of assets. No? So, depende talaga sa kind of assets. Kaya may biro nga dyan eh, yung mga product na kahit sabihin mo na sana, i-depreciate mo na 3 years. But because of poor quality, then expense mo na lang. Ocular inspection or technical reports of the fully depreciated assets conducted by experts. No? Kasi yung sabi ko nga kanina, yung example ko, na mga top of the line na sasakyan, ang value na lang is, tinransfer nila is 1 peso. Kaya no sabi ko doon sa management, sige, allow ko to, pero bigyan kita ng piso, akin na yung Fortuner mo. O, ayaw naman. So, ibig sabihin, hindi totoo yung nandyan nakalagay sa financial statements. No? A certain ownership of the assets. Baka din-depreciate yan. Alam mo, maraming nangyayari dyan. ang building nakapangalan sa stockholder, no? Doon naka-house ang office ng corporation, owned also by the stockholder. Yung depreciation ng building kiniklaim ng corporation, which is not. Why? Because hindi siya owner ng building. Anong dapat? Dapat nagre-rent lang siya doon sa building, no? Nagbabayad ng rent yung corporation sa building, and then ito namang owner magki-claim ng rental, magde-declare ng rental income, and then doon niya i-depreciate. Hindi yun pwede na yung diretso corporation na mag-depreciate ng assets. Hindi. Kasi hindi siya may-ari. No? So yun po yung tama. A certain ownership of the assets. The owner of the asset is the only claimant of depreciation, depletion, and amortization. Pati yung payment of taxes, real estate taxes. Hindi mo rin pwedeng i-claim yan na corporation ka kasi ang may-ari dyan yung stockholder. Huh? Okay, may question?
Wala pa, ma'am. Nakikinig po sila.
Sige. No, ang transfer pricing po, logic lang. Ibig sabihin ko, common sense lang. Kaya may mga cases nga ako na binabasa, yung mga foreign cases, kasi wala na pa namang transfer pricing cases na nakarating dito sa korte, no, sa Pilipinas. Kung meron man, hindi pa masyadong naging issue ang transfer pricing. So, sabi ko, logic lang to eh. Yung isang case is yung binenta niya yung kanyang option to purchase, no? And then, binenta niya ng 60 million, no? Option to purchase lang. And then, ayaw niyang i-tax niya kasi yung option to purchase daw niya, hindi naman daw niya na-exercise. Sabi ko, ano ba namang kalokohan yan? No? Di ba kalokohan? Binenta mo yung option to purchase mo and then, ayaw mo i-tax ka kasi hindi mo na-exercise. Because the option to purchase is already a right. And then yung right is a property. Inilagyan mo ng value dahil binenta mo. So, may income ka. Sabi ko, at alam nyo, tumagal pa yun sa korte yung issue lang na yun. No, samantalang sabi ko, ang dali-dali niya i-justify. No, bakit? Inilagyan mo nga ng value, binenta mo na nga eh. No? Ang contention nila na, we're not able to exercise the option. Binenta mo, kaya hindi mo in-exercise. Sabi ko, ang dali-dali namang sagutin nito. Pinatagal pa sa korte, no? Sa bagay, that's the beauty of the case, no? Para tumagal siya. Kasi kung decided ka agad dyan, hindi yan magandang kaso. No? Kaya maganda yan kasi matagal. Maganda ang bayad. Di ba may story po yan? Ano yung story sa lawyer? No? Hindi ako against sa lawyer kasi hindi ako pumasa sa bar. Ano yun? Yung story na lawyer yung tatay and then hinawakan niya yung kaso, matagal. Ngayon naging lawyer yung anak. Binigay niya yung kaso sa anak. Nanalo ka agad. Kaya naman nagtanong yung anak na, bakit tayo tumagal yung kaso na to? Ang dali-dali lang naman ito. Bakit pa pinatagal to? Anong sabi ng tatay? Anak, kaya ka nakatapos sa pag-aaral dahil sa kaso na yan. Kasi kung hindi yan tumagal, di ka rin makatapos. So, ganun lang po yun. Ay, pag nagbasa ako nung case, sabi ko, ang dali lang naman to. Bakit pinatagal pa? No? So, yun ang reason. No? Kasi maganda yung kaso, basta matagal. Okay.
May question, ma'am. Galing po kay Sir Jomari de la Paz, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Si Jomari, napakasipag na bata to. No?
Sabi niya, ma'am, kung sa accounting po is SYD ang gamit, then straight line method po for depreciation for tax purposes. Paano po kaya ang gagawin doon or adjustment?
Mag-reconcile ka. Paano yung reconciliation mo? Mag-compute ka under, halimbawa, accounting income, sum of the year digits method. But for tax purposes, sabi natin, straight line method yan. I-compute mo sila pareho and then magkaroon ka ng adjustment. Nandoon yun sa reconciliation pagdating sa income tax mo. No? Kasi in that case, magkaiba yung accounting income sa taxable income.
Yun lang ba, ma'am? Question. Wala pa po.
Okay. So, napakasipag na bata si Jo Marie, no? Yun yung mga pagkitaan mo na, alam mo, bata pa lang, makita mo na talaga kung saan patungo, no? Kasi yung hindi ba maarte, pero madiskarte. Yun yung sinasabi natin na ma-aasenso sa buhay. Hindi yung nagbibilang ng serbisyo. Ayaw ko yan ng taong ganyan. Ano yun? Nagbibilang ng oras, parang ang sama-sama ng loob kung nakapagbigay siya ng extra na effort. Parang, Diyos ko, yun ang magdadala ng swerte sa buhay mo, kaya wag masama ang loob. No? Masama ang loob kasi diyan ka bibigyan ng swerte sa buhay. Oh, kaya alam mo sa tao pa lang, kahit unang tingin mo makita mo na ito siswertehin tong tao na to. Oh, at saka unang tingin mo pa rin, ito ang tao na to mamalasin sa buhay ito. Yan naman yung opposite. Okay. So, okay. So ito naman, another issue. The use of the asset is purely for business purposes, dapat. Pero if the asset is partly used for personal purposes of the owner or stockholder, then the amount claimed for depreciation, depletion, or amortization should be allocated accordingly. And usually, sa audit, 50%. No? Halimbawa, yung accountant, ginagamit niya yung bahay niya at the same time office. At saka yung sasakyan niya at the same time ginagamit niya din na personal, ginagamit din niya sa practice of profession niya. So, 50% ng depreciation ng car at saka ng bahay, pwede niya i-claim as an expense sa profession niya. No? Hindi pwede lahat kasi hindi naman yun lahat na ginagamit niya sa personal. No? So, kalahati lang. Okay. So, itong iba, mga projections to mahirap to kasi i-quantify pag projection lang. No? Ito, mga case study to. Pero sabihin ko na rin sa example. Pero case study to No? Foreign parent, company P, parent, company P, and a Philippine subsidiary, company O, enter into a cost-sharing arrangement to develop body lotion and face powder. Company P and Company O shares cost on the basis of its participants' current sales of body lotion and face powder. The market shares of the participants, sino participants dito? The parent and the subsidiary in the Philippines. The market shares of the participants have been stable for body lotion, but Company P's market share for face powder has been expanding. So, mas mabenta yung sa parent company na shares sa face powder. Tax authority determined that the participants' projection of benefit shares are reliable with regard to body lotion, but not reliable with regard to face powder. No? So, a more reliable projection of benefit shares would take into account the expanding market share for face powder. Ano itong kinoconsider nila dito? Yung cost sharing nila doon sa pag-develop ng intangibles ng face powder at saka body lotion. Kung paano nila i-divide. Bakit? Kasi yung sa parent, expanding yung share niya sa market. So, dapat it should be allocated or adjusted accordingly. No? So, para maging tama yung sharing ng cost. No? Okay. So, what are the form of consideration under the cost contribution arrangement? Anong tong cost contribution arrangement? No? Yun yung nagko-contribute kayo sa isang expenses. Related parties agree to share the cost and risk of intangible development. Ano tong intangible development? Meron kayong gustong i-develop na intangible. No? Halimbawa, ano yung antivirus, no? Dine-develop nyo yan. O kaya software, nagde-develop kayo niyan, accounting software. No? So, since nag-share kayo in the development, share din kayo dun sa risk, no? And then, share din kayo dun sa benefits, no? So, anong dapat? Kung magkano yung share mo, dapat proportionate doon ang benefits received. Kasi halimbawa, yung share mo doon sa cost, malaki. Pero pagdating na ngayon sa benefits, and then the ownership, licensing na nung na-develop nyo, maliit lang yung share mo, o kaya sometimes wala pa. Hindi po yan arm's length. No? Okay. Ano yung transfer pricing law po natin dito? Section 50 of the National Internal Revenue Code, giving authority to the commissioner to allocate, apportion, distribute the income of deductions. So, hagip na po dyan yung mga cost-sharing arrangement natin na hindi naman arm's length. So, in that case, anong gagawin ng commissioner? Distribute, allocate, apportion the expenses para ma-determine mo yung tamang income sa bawat parties. No? Okay, so consideration for the acquisition, pwede siyang lump sum payments, pwede installment payments, no? Mode na lang yan. Okay. Or royalty or other payments contingent on the use of intangible. Ano itong mga intangibles? Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na mga patent, copyrights, franchise. So they are intangibles. When you use these intangibles, you have to pay royalties. Yun ang arm's length. So halimbawa, yung may-ari ng intangible is one company, pinagamit sa another related party, and then hindi naman arm's length yung pagbabayad na fee. So, ang tawag doon, hindi arm's length, you have to adjust, no? So, yung royalty payments, the amount of royalty payments, ito yung isang issue na sabi na natin, transfer pricing issue, if the royalty payments is too high or too low, no? So, magkano ba talaga yung rate ng royalties? Okay. Marami itong mga example at saka usually sa cost sharing, ang dami niyang involvement sa intangibles, no? Halos dyan ang mga foreign companies na si-share sa development ng intangibles. Meron pa ba tayong sound? May battery pa? Baka wala ng battery o kaya yung speaker wala ng battery.
Pero chinarge po yun.
yung speaker hindi naka-charge. Hindi, nakatulog ako eh.
Naka-charge din siya.
Naka-charge din. Natulog ako eh. Nung lunch, humihilik pa eh. No? Ngayon, nakatulog din. Okay. Meron akong definition ng cost contribution arrangement ng US. No? Kasi kung tutusin natin, yung mga jurisprudence ng US, pwedeng i-apply dito sa atin. And if you try to look at the transfer pricing law in the Philippines, itong Section 50, ang Section 50 na yan, same wordings with the Section 482 ng IRC, Internal Revenue Code of the US. No? Ang kagandahan lang sa US, ang dami na nila mga implementing guidelines to implement the Section 482, which is the transfer pricing law also of the US. No? Although sa atin, meron na tayong RAMO 1-2019, yung transfer pricing audit guidelines, no? Dito sa Pilipinas. And then, meron na din tayo yung transfer pricing guidelines noong 2013. Okay. Okay, may question?
Wala pa po, ma'am.
Okay, shout out muna. Shout out muna dun sa mga participants sa free bookkeeping. Ha? Sabi ko sa inyo, yung mga hindi naka-question kanina, dito kayo mag-question sa online streaming natin, no? Para masasagot natin agad-agad yung mga questions nyo. Kasi kung doon lang kayo sa comment, matagal pa yun. No? Kasi hindi pa tayo naka-open up doon. No? Priority na muna natin yung sa online streaming at saka yung lecture. Okay, so what do you mean by shared in the anticipated benefits? No? Companies that wanted to develop intangible property, either as manufacturing intangible or marketing intangible. Ano yung manufacturing intangible? Ito yung mga processes, mga formula. Ano naman itong marketing intangible? Ito yung nagpapadagdag sa value ng lakas niya yung sales. No? Ito yung mga logo, mga trademark. May enter into cost-sharing arrangement which require the parties to the agreement to contribute proportional share of cost relating to the development of intangible property in exchange for their anticipated share of the benefits to be derived from result of the arrangement. No? So yun yung mga share in the anticipated benefits. No? Dapat proportionate naman yung share niya. Halimbawa, ang contribution niya, technical, mas mahal yun dapat. O, ang bigay ng isang party, the parent company, expenses, tamang-tama lang. Ang binigay na contribution ng subsidiary, technical, yung mga experts niya. So, dapat mas mahal yung monetization or yung amount for the technical persons. Kasi sila yung expert, sila yung nag-develop ng software mo. No? And then, ang masaklap pa doon, yung gumawa, ang subsidiary, binayaran lang ni parent ng maliit. And then, yung ownership pa ng intangible, nasa parent pa din. Pag ginamit ng subsidiary, nila license pa, nagbabayad pa ng royalty. No? So, kung titingnan mo, yung sabi natin na common sense, no? Kawawa naman yung subsidiary. No oras na.
9:51. Time check. 9:51.
9:50, 10 minutes, alas 10 na?
Yes, ma'am.
Ang bilis May nanonood pa ba?
Meron, ma'am. Nakikinig sila, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Bigyan ko kayo ng example ulit ng cost-sharing arrangement, no? Para mas maintindihan natin. No? Example. Kasi sabi ko, karamihan ng cost-sharing arrangement ng parents at subsidiary, mga controlled parties, more on intangibles. No? Yung cost-sharing ng hindi intangibles, halos wala na yun eh. So, example. Controlled parties A and B enter into cost-sharing arrangement to develop product and processes intangibles for an already existing product, P. Without such intangible, A and B would each reasonable anticipate revenue in present value terms. No? 100 million from sales of products P until it become obsolete. No? Kailan kaya nag-obsolete ang isang product? Wala nang bumibili o nag-become off patent na. No? So, with the intangibles, A and B, it's reasonably anticipate selling the same number of units each year, but reasonably anticipate that the price will be higher. No? Controlled participant means a controlled taxpayer that is a party to the contractual agreement that underlies the cost contribution arrangement and that reasonably anticipates that it will derive benefits from exploiting one or more cost-shared intangibles. So, bakit ba kayo nagsishare dun sa intangibles? Because you are anticipating benefits. No? So, dapat kung ano yung contribution mo, kung ano yung participation mo, yung participation mo na yun, it carries up to the benefits. No? Hindi yung trabaho lang, pagdating sa benefits, parents na lang yung may-ari. No? An interest in an intangible includes any commercially transferable interest, the benefits of which are susceptible of valuation. Kasi ang isang problema po kasi sa intangibles, yung difficulties in the valuation. Kasi paano mo i-value intangibles ito? There's no physical attributes. So paano mo i-quantify? That's why sa paggawa po ng transfer pricing analysis report, hindi po isang tao lang yan, it's a group effort, no? Member of the transfer pricing team would be the accountant, no, for the accounting requirements. The lawyer, yung mga legal na issues. The statistician, No? The industry expert. So, magkakasama po sila yan pag ginagawa. No? A controlled participant's reasonably anticipated benefits means the aggregate benefits that reasonably may be anticipated to be derived from exploiting cost-shared intangibles. So, anong ina-anticipate na benefits ng participant? Proportional doon sa kanyang contribution. No? So, yun yung sinasabi ko nga sa inyo na one-sided lang. Pagdating doon sa contribution, pare-pareho. Pagdating doon sa benefits, mas benefited yung isa, hindi na po yan arm's length. No? Okay. Question?
Wala, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Pagdating po sa sharing, okay, papaano dinedetermine yung participant share of the benefits, no? Papaano i-determine, no? Yung anticipated benefits. The anticipated additional income that each participant is expected to generate as a result of its participation in the arrangement. Ano yun? Additional income. Kasi ito economic na naman kasi transfer pricing is economic taxation. Bakit ka sumali doon sa, nag-participate ka doon sa cost sharing na yan kasi may gagawin kayo kung wala ka namang benefits, no? So, meron ka talagang ina-anticipate na benefits, increase ng income, kasi sumama ka, nag-contribute ka doon sa project, no? Ano mo pa i-determine? The anticipated cost savings they expect to gain as a result of its participation in the arrangement. So, halimbawa naman ang dinevelop nyo is the process. Yun yung intangibles, the process. So, paano naman yung cost savings doon benefited yung participant? Because dinevelop ninyo yung process na nakaka-save ng cost. Ano ibig sabihin pag nag-save ka ng cost? When you save the cost, you lower the cost, higher the income. No? So, higher the benefits. So, in practice, indirectly estimate additional income to be derived from the arrangement may use allocation case such as sales, unit used, produced, or sold, gross or operating profit, number of employees, or the capital invested. Pwede siyang maging allocation case pagdating na po doon sa determination nung gain na madiderive doon sa arrangement. Taxpayers should choose allocation K taking into account the nature of the cost contribution arrangement. Kasi yung cost contribution arrangement yan, halimbawa, ang dinedevelop ninyo is intangibles. So, syempre, isipin mo rin, paano yung computation nyo in the share of the benefits for that intangibles. Also, the relationship between the allocation K and the expected benefits. Ano ba yung relationship na allocation K? Baka naman yung allocation mo can be challenged, no? Kagaya yung example natin kanina na based on sales. And then, yung sunod naman na allocation K mo, equal, no? Both of it can be challenged, no? Yung example natin doon sa training, na halimbawa, nagpapatrain yung parent company, lahat ng executive ng subsidiary. So, how are you going to charge the expense? So, sabi ko naman, para sa akin, kasi syempre, nasa training ako, charge mo sila per head, no? Hindi yung per company. Halimbawa, yung isang company, isa lang yung participant niya doon. Yung isang company, 3, ilugay naman tong isa lang as compared doon sa 3. No? So, para sa akin, yung proper na allocation when it comes to distribution ng cost of the training is a per head basis. No? Okay. So, itong mga matira kasi puro example na lang to ng cost contribution. No? So, in essence, ang importante po sa cost contribution arrangement, balikan natin, kailangan ba yan ng company? No? Yung mga shared cost na yan. Or baka imposed lang yan para pang additional na income yan doon sa parent. And sometimes, ano pa nangyari dyan? Double claim. No? Sinacharge na sa subsidiary, kiniklaim din ng parents. No? Ang dami pong cases na ganyan. Double claim ang expenses. Kasi kung chinarge mo na sa subsidiary mo, bakit i-claim pa rin ulit ng parents, no? Kaya double claim ang expenses. Okay, so ano ba yung naging topic natin for the transfer pricing dito sa nung nakaraan, nung Tuesday natin, the valuation ng intangibles, no? And then ngayon, ito na naman ang intra-group services cost contribution arrangement, no? Or cost sharing arrangement. Next natin na online streaming, doon na sa business restructuring, no? Hindi na natin 'yun ma-discuss ngayon kasi we are running out of time. Okay? So, ano pa, may question?
Wala, ma'am. Talagang nakikinig sila
okay,
sa
so ito na. Ano ba yung tax consequences for non-arm's length cost contribution arrangement? Hindi arm's length. So, ano yung tax consequences? Of course, i-disallow yung cost sharing na yun. Halimbawa, chinarge mo yung subsidiary mo ng 100,000 for the on-call services, hindi naman kailangan o kailangan niya konti lang, babawasan. Halimbawa, i-disallow yung 80%, 80,000, 20% lang yung i-allow. Doon sa 80% na disallowance, bayaran mo yung deficiency taxes doon. No? So, ganun ang mangyayari ng tax consequences for non-arm's length. Why? It is a ground for disallowance of the expense. Okay. Okay. So, wala na tayong question?
Wala na po, ma'am.
Okay, so shout out tayo ulit sa ating mga YouTubers. Thank you for the your support, no? Nagiging 3,000 ano na, 300 ilan na yung ating subscribers?
Ma'am, may nagtatanong kung may soft copy po ba yung topic nyo ngayon. Si Ma'am Leia Marie, ma'am. Nagtatanong lang po siya.
Meron naman po, no? May soft copy tayo, no? Kasama ito doon sa ating 5-day na certificate program po sa transfer pricing. No?
3,360.
Okay. So, thank you very much doon sa mga nag-subscribe. Doon po sa hindi pa nag-subscribe, please subscribe to our channel, no? Para makapagbigay kami din sa inyo ng mga updates on tax information, no? And shout out tayo ulit sa mga nag-attend ng ating free bookkeeping seminar. Doon po sa nag-confirm, no? Maraming naka-register, pero pag tinitingnan nyo, minomonitor po namin kung nanonood kayo o hindi. Kasi hindi po kami mag-i-issue ng certificate. Useless lang kasi yung certificate lang yung kukunin nyo. Hindi namin kayo bibigyan. No? Kasi hindi naman kayo hindi naman kayo nag-aral, so bakit kami magbibigay? Na monitor po natin. No? Out of the more than 297 na nagpa-register, 130 lang po yung nanood. No? Ano po kayo kasi. Hindi ibig sabihin na online ito ay hindi naman kayo nakikita. Keep track po kayo. No? So, 130 lang po yung nanonood. 130 lang yung nag-confirm. So, sorry na lang doon sa mga nagpa-register. Baka naman mangulit kayo. Sabihin ninyo na nanood po kami. Ay, hindi po yung iba talaga. No? Out of the 297, yung mabigyan natin, kasi tapos na yung first day natin eh. Yung bukas, second day na. So, mga 130 plus lang po talaga ang mabigyan ng certificate. Yung iba, hindi po pwede. No? Kasi, nagmo-monitor po tayo ng attendance. Hindi naman po talaga umattend. No? Nagpa-register lang. So, pasensya na lang. Halimbawa, attend kayo bukas, next free bookkeeping seminar na kayo, pwedeng kumuha ng certificate ulit.
Ma'am, may nagtatanong po si Sir James Hoyla, pero nireply na po namin sa chat kung kailan po ulit mag-start yung transfer pricing seminar. Ang sabi po namin, ang next schedule is August 17 to 21.
Yes, meron naman na tayong
2020.
monthly.
Tapos, kung online daw po. Online po via Zoom.
Online na tayo, starting po ng August, lahat po ng seminars natin, wala na po tayong face-to-face, puro online na po. Bakit? Kasi binabawalan na po talaga tayo. No? In fact, yung aming advertisement sa Facebook, hindi po kami pinayagan kasi face-to-face. No? So, no choice po tayo, sa online na tayo via Zoom. No? Para sa Zoom naman, makita mo talaga na ito uma-attend, no? Hindi yung sabi kasi ng iba, online naman to, hindi kami nakikita, minomonitor po namin sa screen. No? Kala nyo, ako lang nakikita nyo kasi ako lang nagsasalita. Ang dami pong mga ano natin sa side na nasa technical po, no? So, sila yung mga nagmo-monitor, ilan po yan katao, nakikita po nila na nagpa-register lang, hindi uma-attend. No? So, sorry na lang po doon sa hindi nag-confirm ng attendance. Baka sabihin nyo na naka-register kayo and then manghingi kayo ng certificate. Although, hindi naman kami nagdamot sa inyo, binigyan namin kayo ng soft copy ng handouts. No? Basahin ninyo, pero yung sabi natin na talagang makinig kayo, kasi kahit papaano, kung mapapansin po ninyo, yung mga sinasabi ko, marami doon wala sa handouts. No? Kaya yung sinasabi ng iba na, huwag po kayong magbigay muna ng handouts kasi hindi na makinig sa inyo yung participants. Bali, wala po sa akin yan. Bakit? Kasi yung sinasabi ko, wala naman doon sa handouts. No? Sabi niyo, binabasa mo naman yung handouts, binabasa ko yung batas, pero yung explanation ko, wala na doon. No? Iba na. Kaya, kasi kung basahin nyo lang yung batas, ba't ba kayo mag-seminar? Kaya nyo naman basahin yan. No?
Tama.
So, it's useless. Kaya, minomonitor pa rin namin kayo na dapat nakikinig kayo dito. Kasi mas naliliwanagan kayo, may mga examples tayong, at saka hindi po, yung totoo talaga, real life, yung aking binibigay sa inyo ng mga examples. Talagang experience ko yan. No? With my 31 years of stay sa BIR, for 29 years, I do audit work. Kaya yung sinishare ko sa inyo is a product of my experience. No? Na sinishare ko yan sa inyo para gamitin nyo at matuto kayo. Pero kung certificate lang po yung hihingi natin, hindi po namin talaga bibigyan. No? Sorry na lang. Okay? Anyway, yung halimbawa hindi naka-attend ngayon, then attend kayo ng second day, sa next natin na bookkeeping seminar, one day na lang attend ninyo para ibigay namin yung certificate. No? So, ganun na lang po. Kasi ang ating free bookkeeping naman is every month. No? Sa mga kakilala ninyo na hindi pa alam, alam nyo naman na kailangan din nila yung bookkeeping, sabihan nyo naman, invite ninyo to join us para matuto din sila. And this is one avenue that you will be you can improve yourself professionally. No? Magkaroon kayo ng self-confidence, makapagbigay kayo ng serbisyo, and then this is also additional income for you. No? At saka, hindi lang yon, matuturuan pa natin din yung taxpayer how to comply with their obligations. The aim of our tax training is for you to have a better tax compliance. Kaya po tayo nagbibigay sa inyo ng mga kaalaman. And shoutout ko na rin for those who want to be our members, 1,000 per year po yan, para makapag-assist din kami sa inyo on tax matters, no? On tax issues. Yan yung added services po natin dito. Kasi, dito na tayo eh. So, what we can do is to expand our services to you. At yun yung ino-offer namin sa inyo. For 1,000 pesos na maging member kayo, bibigyan namin kayo ng ID, and then we will assist you on your tax problems or tax queries. No? Paano natin gagawin yun? Email nyo lang sa amin yung mga queries nyo, and then kung mga mahirap yan na mga queries, then give us time para makapag-research kami at makapagbigay kami sa inyo ng tamang sagot. Okay? So with that, thank you very much and see you tomorrow, yung mga nakaregister po sa free bookkeeping seminar natin. At see you on Tuesday ulit for our live streaming. Thank you and good evening.